Hey everybody, it's Tuesday. It's SAMP&CHANCE Wrestling. Guys, on this episode, we are going to take a look at AEW's Forbidden Door happening this Sunday. Also, last Monday, we had the Wyatt Sick make their appearance. They're here. Also, we have new Bloodline members. So all this, so much more on this episode of SAMP&CHANCE. So strap in and thank you for letting us into your year. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of SAMP&CHANCE Wrestling. I'm your host, Bobby Sampson, joined as always, my man with the master plan, looking like he's just come off the links, Mr. Chance. Michaels, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. You're close. I thought the driving range, but not the links, no.
Close enough, man. I had the right sport. You looked the part. I guess first and foremost, I think a couple things that we have to kind of take care of here. Never like starting the show this way, but as we record, one of the head shrinker, one of the Wallace Samoans, Sika has passed away. Roman Reigns' dad, he passed away today. So
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, our condolences to the family and not. He was sick. He kept
Too bad.
Yeah, and also shout out to Pat McAfee. I know, his commentary is questionable, but last night after he recorded his own show, he got word that his father-in-law passed away, which explains his absence from Raw. So our condolences to both to the Ianoa family and to Pat McAfee and his family for their losses. All right, brother, man. What do you want to do first? Why don't we just talk about the Y6? Let's talk a little WWE here, get it going. So last Monday we saw the Y6 emerge. We talked about them, and I was kind of curious how they were going to book these guys, and I'm kind of liking what they've done so far. This past Monday on Raw, you saw the continuation of the story. We saw Bo Dallas for the first time in over a year on WWE TV as Bo Dallas, revealing what it felt like to lose Bray, which was really interesting. I didn't think they were going to go down that path, honestly. You?
I'm not surprised. Well, they got to get Bo over. And I know it's sad that he lost Bray, but they got to put him over. That he wants to draw the connection to his Bray's brother to get more sympathy. I don't understand what they're doing with the Wyatt Six. Last week, they beat up Chad Gable so bad. They're supposed to be this murderous crew because wasn't the first? Didn't they kill a bunch of guys in the back when those guys were blood on their heads?
Well, they called it a massacre, right?
Yeah, okay. So they did all this brutality. They beat up Chad Gable, and what do we see on Raw? Chad Gable, a little band-aid on his head. He comes out, has a match, and wins. To me, that already weakened them. Chad's a little guy. If you guys can't hurt Chad Gable, and the next week he's out, nothing ever happened to him. I think that was such corny, cheesy booking. And like I said in the previous shows, they have to keep this cinematic, kind of like the AJ Styles Undertaker match, like that with this stuff. And once it gets the wrestling part of it, and once they get on the mic, it's going to lose a little luster. And I think it already has.
Well, let's see what they do, man. I think this.
How can you be killing guys in the back and you can't beat up a little guy? He's just a little bandit.
Ideally, Chad should have not been on Raw this week. Obviously, I totally agree with you, but I can see what they're doing with the storylines and how they're so much is so interconnected here, man. I find it really interesting.
It's all the indie booking mentality. They're trying to appease the IWC, and I get why they did it. But if you're trying to make the Wyatt Six this elite, scary crew, and they can't even beat up a little guy like Chad Gable.
Well, I don't see how, honestly, I don't understand how that would appease the internet wrestling community. I don't. I hear what you're saying.
Because it's nothing's in reality. But wrestling is best. I've always said it when it's reality based. But they're not writing it reality based anymore. They're writing just, I think, to appease IWC to try to remain in their good books. Look, the internet crowd controls wrestling, as we see with Cody Rhodes and all this stuff. So I think they're writing from that mentality. That's what I'm noticing.
Well, it was interesting. I mean, Pat was supposed to be there. They're also extending the story to Pat McAfee somehow. The messages keep showing up on his podcast and his ESPN show. So last night he was actually supposed to be there to receive that box, but because he wasn't and whatnot. So that's what his absence was. A lot of people thought it had to do with the Wyatt Six and him being scared. No, it had nothing to do with that. All right. Chad Gable, I mean, he pulls it out of his ass too and wins this match against two monsters, which I found really interesting as well. But I like what they did with Braun to keep him neutralized. And it made sense because Braun beat the tar out of the big man there. And what's his name? Help me out here, brother. The big Australian fellow that was in that triple threat match with them.
What do you mean,
Bronson Reed.
Oh, Bronson Reed. Yeah.
So I mean, having him getting licked up pretty good by Braun beforehand made it more realistic that Chad won. But Chad took a lot of time getting up to that top rope, but I think he's playing that off with that whole wide thing. They kind of showed up, after the end of the match and what have you. So I'm curious to see where
I
they
just
go.
don't understand where this Chad Gable can take a beat down from the Wyatt Six, come out there, beat up two big dudes, and nothing phases them. They're making this guy like a superhero, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. I like Chad as a worker, but I just think it's a little over the top and coming across a little corny.
Yeah. The other thing that I took away from Raw last night is another example of Seth Rollins. You know what you realize when guys are gone, how much you actually appreciate them when they come back. And I think last night was another example. I think just Damien on the stick against Seth is just punishment, I feel like, because Seth is so good. And Damien just looks so poor on the mic again.
Well, he
You
is
know,
poor on the mic. That's the
well, I
problem.
get it, but it really exemplifies it. It really accentuates it, right? Like for example, the one thing I don't really care for is him constantly saying "real talk, real talk." Oh, what the hell is that? Like, I mean,
Well, he doesn't know. He's just not a good on the
yeah,
stick.
yeah. But overall, Money in the Bank is building up. Everything is kind of going there. I mean, outside of those things, there's really not much going on in the world of WWE. Anything that you want to touch on?
I just hope they don't drop the ball with the Wyatt Six. You got something special here. Keep it special. Keep it scary. Keep it spooky. You can't have these guys beat the crap out of Chad Gable and have Chad walk out 7 days later and beat up two big dudes. At
Yeah,
least
well,
keep Chad off of Raw. Chad can't compete. Adam Pearce comes out because he got annihilated by the Wyatt Six. He's in the hospital. We'll let you know something like that. Oh my
well,
God, these
you would
guys are
expect.
brutal.
I mean, the fact that they focused on him, if they didn't focus on him in the back, I could see, okay, it could play out the way you're saying, right? Or the way it played out. But I mean, ultimately, yeah, I have to agree with you. It's a silly move. Like it doesn't make any sense. And the fact that
And I
Braun
love
was,
Modellus. I even liked Modellus before. I know he was always a bottom tier guy, but I always thought he was when he's acting goofy there and having fun. I always liked the way he was. So I'm happy for that he gets a spot. I just hope they get really the best writers to write this script for Wyatt to keep it super special because they could capture some magic here if this is done right.
yeah.
We'll see.
Well, speaking of writers, and thank you for saying that, let's segue into SmackDown really quickly before we move on to AEW. So, we talked about getting new writers and this and that. So, WWE has appointed a new head writer for SmackDown. He was there before, but not many people know of him. I'm drawing a blank on his name myself.
I
I
don't even know who
apologize.
it is. I don't even know they brought a
Well,
new writer.
but here's the funny
Good.
thing. What did I say to you? And you agreed with me. What did I say to you about last week's SmackDown? Yeah, it was a better show. It was a better run. It was this and that. It's because of this guy who's coming now and he's taking over the running.
Good.
Right? We both agreed that
We
that
were
was
both
a
been
good
saying bring in some
SmackDown.
outside people and let's get so good for them.
And that was a good SmackDown, wasn't it? We both
It wasn't bad, yeah.
And we didn't even know they had changed the head writers.
One thing I noticed about Raw, they kind of cleaned it up a little bit. Drew came out for a quick promo. Wasn't 20 minutes, like 8 minutes in. And boom, we got Braun and Ludwig. So they're kind of. I like to start a Raw instead of a 20-minute.
So
back and forth.
just on that front as well, Ludwig Kaiser is injured. He has hurt his arm in that match, which has changed the plans because he was supposed to be in a qualifier match next week for Money in the Bank, but he's being pulled. So just a little.
I have to say one thing, man. Braun Breaker, can he run fast? The way he hit, nobody runs as fast as that guy hits those ropes. That's special. He's a special athlete. He's
special. I think
if he doesn't learn how to talk, he can be really dangerous.
I don't like to put this moniker on him, but people are already looking for the next Roman, the next John Cena, because we're getting to that point now, right? Where the next guy's going to have to emerge.
If he can talk, if he learns how to stick work, he's deadly. That speed is unreal.
Yeah, right now it looks like Braun is that guy who should take over that mantelpiece going, 5-6 years from now. He should be the face of this company if everything plays out well.
Yeah, he's got all the tools.
He's got all the tools, but I also like Carmelo Hayes. He's another guy that's kind of come up. I also like and I don't expect him to be a face ahead of the company or anything, but that other guy that just came up there as well. I'm drawing a blank here. The other Russian up to to Raw there. He's the one who was with Ricochet and shit. And Braun, he fought Braun as well.
I don't even know
the NXT call up. Anyways, people know who I'm talking about. Little Russian guy.
What, Dragunov?
Dragunov, yeah. I like him.
Yeah, I don't know about him. He's a little guy. Austin Theory. They got some good future talent. They just gotta.
They do. The basket's good. It's just how they mold them and do that. Junior Fatu's on the scene. Let's touch on that really, really quick.
Yeah.
I told you that Junior Fatu is a guy that they wanted to sign, but they were hesitant to sign because he could potentially overpower and become what they want Solo to become. And we saw that in the first 5 minutes that dude was there. He was stronger, he was quicker, his presence, his character, everything that you want to see, he had, and he showed in 5 minutes.
He had a good performance.
Right. And he took out the top three biggest names on that promotion.
Yeah.
He took out Randy, he took out Kevin, and he took out Cody with ease.
What's with this Randy and Kevin Owens stuff? I'm getting tired of seeing them together. Let's fuck this up.
I don't
what's
know.
their connection? You got a dude that looks like a landscaper. You got a guy that looks like a Greek god. Like, I don't understand this.
Something
like,
to do until they can't figure out what they're going to do with each other.
Like, it's like Rock and Mick Foley. Like, I don't understand.
You know what? Something like that. It has to be, because
Kevin Owens' stick is getting a little tired. I think he needs to take a little time off.
Well, dude, it's they're in limbo in that sense, like I said before to you, and it's more and more evident than now that I think
Kevin Owens is an AEW guy. That'd be his home turf. He's an A. When I look at him, I think AEW. As soon as I see that guy, they would love. They'd love him there. Like, he's huge in the indie scene. Like, I'm serious. He's a big indie guy, and they would love Kevin Owens at AEW.
For sure. But I think Kevin Owens, Sammy both realize that this is the best place for them. They'll never go. I don't think so. I think they both finish. We'll never say never, but I think even AJ, you would think, okay, this is where he should end up after he finishes here, right? He's retiring after this contract. He doesn't want. He's done.
Oh yeah, he's late 40s. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, if anyone's going to go, AJ, Sammy, and those are the top three guys that you would think would head over there. But I don't think either one of them, any of them, want to go there after. Very, very quickly, I wanted to talk about this very quickly, and we'll move on to AEW. The world title. I brought this up to you in private. I'm going to bring it up here. I'm curious to see if you have changed your opinion or if you have anything to add to this. But the world title, in my opinion, seems to be holding its own, if not better than the universal title right now. You look at that title, it's supposed to be the secondary title, right? The world title. But if you look at all the stories that are connected to it, the guys that are chasing after it, and then you look at the universal title, which is supposed to be your marquee and top, this is it. Really, outside of Solo now, there doesn't seem to be any extended storylines. No one's talking about it on SmackDown. No one's thriving to push that, plant that seed for that story down the road. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree, and I'll tell you exactly why. I said it before in the many shows. Cody is better as a chaser than the champ. That story of finishing the story and crying all the time in the ring and, being, very, very sensitive and all that stuff he was doing was really appeasing to the internet community. And now he's a champ. It's like, what do we do with this guy? Who's going to chase Cody now? Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes. That's got no heat. That's got no juice.
It's kind of like we said before. It seems like, good guys are better chasers than the actual champion.
Look at Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes are two of the best chasers, but they're not that great as champs.
No. But some guys are just really good at that. And I think Cody's best work in WWE will happen when he becomes a heel.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I see it. And it's kind of like I said to you.
He's a bit of a jerk in real life. You ever watch a reality show? He's a bit of a jerk. You'll see what I'm saying if you guys ever watch it.
Yeah.
He's not the most likable guy.
Yeah.
And so, I think he'd be a good heel.
I think he'd be a great heel. And I think we're going to see his best work as a heel. Whatever we saw now, I think he'll be better as a heel. But I think the interesting point here is.
And there was so much juice with him and Roman. Now that he's got no juice to anybody else, you got to find a new feud for him. AJ and him didn't get anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll see where, when everyone starts to come back and we see how these things unfold here. But it's like I said to you, man, I think we were talking about this on the phone, and I want to bring it up again. If you look at movies in general, I said this to you, right? If you look at movies, the good guys chasing until the last 20 minutes of the movie. And then he finally wins and he becomes champion, or he wins the war, or whatever the good guys do. Then if you ever watch the sequel, and the movie ends there, so you're left to kind of determine, okay, how does this play out? Happily ever after. But if you ever watch sequels to most of these movies, the sequel, you see that the guy's lost the belt somehow and everything's falling apart again and he's chasing again. So it almost makes me wonder that bad guys are supposed to be champions and the good guys are just to be chasers and hold it for that one moment.
It always makes for a better story, especially in wrestling. Cody, Sammy, these guys are good at chasing and telling their story. They're not quite as comfortable as champ. They love being champ, but I don't know. They just seem to me better when they're chasing.
There's only a handful of guys who could carry that strap and make it mean something as a face. One is Hulk Hogan, and I would have to say the other one in real time, Hulk Hogan, John Cena, and I'm going to throw Roman Reigns in there, in terms of guys that if you're a face or a heel, you make that thing work.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
All right.
So Cody needs a good feud though. SummerSlam's coming up. Give him something.
Well, it looks like we're going to have Cody probably versus Solo in
Oh.
singles. Well, hold on. That's where you probably get Roman coming back, and that's where you probably have all the other stuff happening to kind of. Because from SummerSlam onwards, it's really that's where the road to WrestleMania starts.
One of my biggest complaints about WWE, besides their commentating, is there's too many factions. We brought the Wyatt Six back. How many factions do we need? This is getting a little much. Like, you know what I mean? I understand the Wyatt Six, like, because they're a special crew, but do we need so many factions? This is like crazy.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, I tell you what, let's talk about factions and let's talk about AEW Forbidden Door this weekend coming from Long Island, New York. Brother man, why don't we just get right into that show? Did you have any takeaways from AEW this week at all? Anything stand out? Anything?
Yeah, what stands out to me is the ratings. They only got 500,000 viewers, which is a horrible rating. When they first started out, they were getting about a million, 1.1, 900,000. They slowly dropped and been hovering around 700, 800,000. Now they're down to 500 last week. Now they can say they went up against hockey or basketball, but if your show is that good, there was a time when WWE in their heyday, not anymore, was beating Monday Night Football. And that'll never happen again. But to get 500,000 people, more people are watching reruns of Golden Girls than that are watching AEW. So they have a very, very small fan base. Yes, they can go to Wembley Stadium and sell out and get some big crowds when people are starving for it. Because we get wrestling here all the time, right? But when you're doing these shows here, let's come at Forbidden Door, and you got a bunch of guys from New Japan, nobody knows who they are. Unless you're the hardcore mark or a hardcore fan, you never heard of any of these guys. So why would you buy there to watch this? I don't understand the booking of it. Like, I know what he's doing. He's going for the hardcore fan base, but who are some of these guys? I don't know who some of these guys are. So, everybody's going to watch WWE, AEW, New Japan, ROH. It's too much wrestling.
No, it's too much wrestling. I mean, we watch it because we have to, or I
don't watch New Japan, though. I won't.
I do. I try to watch a bit of it.
I got nothing against it. I like their stuff.
No.
I watch that.
Hey, dude, I've been watching New Japan for years, like going into the 90s, right?
I don't mind it, but I'm not going to watch it.
No, don't get me wrong. I don't know everybody who's on there, but I keep up with the stories as much as I possibly can.
And I want to see their last pay-per-view they did got about 120,000 buys. So I want to see what this number does. I want to see if this number, if Forbidden Door is more attractive. What was the last show they had in Vegas? Was that one called?
That was Double or Nothing.
Yeah, Double or Nothing. So I want to see if this is going to draw more than Double or Nothing with the New Japan.
It's on the Zone. It's on the Zone.
You got to buy it, but yeah.
But it's available to you on the Zone. Like, they've made it very easy for you if you want to watch it, right? So that's
which is good.
To make. But here's the thing: Forbidden Door was a great concept when AEW started. Because at that time, all of it was fresh. Oh my God, these guys from New Japan are coming, because we never got that with WWE, right? We never got that crossover stuff that AEW was doing in the beginning, which separated them and put them apart. And that's what was so special about AEW, in my opinion.
It was for a bit, I guess, if you're into that Japan stuff,
Right. But now you're right. It's become convoluted because a lot of these guys, we don't know who they are, and there's no story, and there's nothing there.
That's another thing. There's no story. They're just throwing matches together. And it's like, dude, like, I understand there's a market for that, but not a big market, dude.
No, it's not a big market. But at the time, because of what the company was and it was fresh, people tuned in and they loved it, right? And I get it. This is a part of their schedule. But
and then I think there's so many mistakes that Tony Khan has made. I think he dropped the ball big time on the CM Punk stuff. You should have ran with that. I understand you try to make the elite out of that. Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson, and Jack Perry, they're not believable bad guys. They're skinny dudes. Nobody's going to believe them as tough guys. I've always been saying this, and I'm being proven right by the ratings. Nobody's going to take these guys like NWO because they're not believable. And then you had Will Ospreay got some heat. Triple H kind of took a jab at him. Will Ospreay comes back, throws a jab at him, and then you drop it. Run with something, dude. You have so much stuff. You can do the CM Punk stuff. Start taking shots at Triple H. Say, hey, you were only there because you married the boss's daughter. Get on with it. This isn't working.
I gotta wonder how delusional Tony Khan has become over this process of 5 years. The reason I'm saying that, he recently told a fan that Collision had beaten the UFC in the ratings.
Come on, dude.
I'm just saying.
I know. He's out of touch. I wish I could interview the guy, and I would say, Tony, I'm glad you started a new wrestling company. You know, his competition is great, but I want you to explain to me how you go from 1.1 million to 500,000 in less than a year. What's going on here? Do you not understand? We don't know who these people are. This is not storyline. You're just throwing match. And sometimes you can make a great match out of it. But let us know who these guys are. We're not watching New Japan in Vancouver and Texas. We don't even know this. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I will give you my theory on why this is. And we talked about this briefly off the air.
Yeah.
I believe the fact of the matter is because he's not playing with his own money.
Yes, absolutely.
Let me finish this. I have this all worked out in my head. You got a guy who's playing with his father's money. It doesn't matter if he's playing Jacksonville Jaguars one day. It doesn't matter if he's playing Fulham in the Premiership one day. It doesn't matter if he's playing AEW. Okay. He's playing with dad's money. Now, the reason WWE is so successful, in my opinion, you got a guy in Vince McMahon. Yes, we always bring him up, and he's going to be the fucking wrestling god. So anyone's got a problem with it, they can shut up now. All right. Yeah. Vince McMahon took his own money. He didn't take Jess's money, his father's money, or his grandfather's money. He took his own money that he made with his wife, put everything into it, and made WrestleMania.
Or could have went bankrupt and been in a tent on the street. Either way, but he went for it.
But he went for it, okay? And the fact of the matter is that's why that work ethic and the way he runs the ship, WrestleMania week, it's not rumored, it's fact. Vince did not sleep that whole week.
Oh, I believe it. He's thinking the show,
7 days, right? So you got a guy who has nothing to lose and unlimited funds. Eventually, at some point, that's going to run out. I use the example of our children. If Little Miss had to pay, and I'm not saying she's bad with it, if Miss had to pay for her own Switch, I guarantee that kid would sit there with a chamois and a rag and clean it every night before she put it back in his hands, because she earned it. She paid for it, which is why I always say to you, brother, no matter what you want to do in this life, you have to earn it. It's just not given to you.
Yeah,
now we're seeing the opposite of what I'm saying in Tony Khan, because everything's just given to him. The funds are given to him. The day the money runs out, which I think will happen sooner than not, then you'll start to see a change in the way he thinks about the company and how he runs it. That's my take.
I understand. He said, what did he say? He's running the company for sickos to watch it. He's like hardcore guys.
Yeah, he goes, I'm a sicko and I'm running this for sickos, internet wrestling community.
But Vince McMahon would say, I'm running the show for everybody. I want everybody to watch it. I want mom, grandma, aunt, uncle, your dog to all watch this show. That's the difference.
And that's the difference. And because it's that commitment, because you're using your own money, you're not using house money.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, until Tony actually loses money out of his own pocket, not his dad's pocket, all the losses are coming out of Rashad's account, not his.
I know.
Right. So at some point, his dad's got to wake up and say, hey, what's this doing? Because if he doesn't shut him down, and you said this, my friend, the networks will shut him down. They'll have no place to show them
like that. Yeah.
Right. So one way or the other, one of these guys is going to get him. And if we know anything about Time Warner and TBS and TNT, they killed WCW because they didn't want it anymore.
Yeah. And WCW was getting a lot higher than 500,000. I'll tell you that.
Right. And what's going to stop those executives on this piss-ass company that's not even doing the numbers for them?
I don't know what he's doing. He needs to step back a little bit. You can have the final say. Bring in some writers out of the indie world, out of the wrestling bubble. Bring in some writers. There's a lot of good writers have been over the years. WCW, WWE, TNA. You can find them. Bring them in. Let them write the show, and you can have your final stamp. But step back a little bit because this is not working, dude.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other thing that they need to do, in my opinion, is get impartial bookers and producers. Right? Not, if you think about it, I mean, the death of WCW, that's the show that's going on and everyone's talking about it. Everyone has their piece, right? About what's what. But at the end of the day, the network destroyed WCW, Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, and Kevin Nash for becoming head booker. I mean, all these kind of things all, boiled up into one that destroyed this company. So, you got to have bookers in there. Yeah.
And I think also the one thing they're not saying, what also killed WCW, Hogan was getting older, Macho was getting older. All the guys in the late 90s, that anybody was on fire. Coolest thing around. They got a little bit older and they couldn't do as much work, so that kind of killed it off too.
They got older, but I think the biggest thing that they lost was when TBS said, hey, we want you to take 4 steps back and become the show you used to be before you were where you are. And that tied, and I feel bad for Eric Bischoff. How much can this guy do? Like, like he's at the power and the mercy
I'll
of
tell
all
you
the.
one thing. Tony Khan takes shots at Eric Bischoff. Tony Khan, you have never produced one show even as close as to what Eric Bischoff did with NWO and the Cruiserweights. You haven't even had half of a great idea like he's done. Eric Bischoff crushes him all day, every
If
day,
if
1,000
if
times.
you look at the two guys and put them side by side, Eric has paid his dues in this
Oh yeah,
business.
he's for 83 weeks he was even beating Mini Mac. He was
No,
kicking
no.
butt.
Even before that, I'm saying he has paid his dues. I mean, he didn't come from WCW. He came from uh, AWA before that.
And he was
With
trying to fight out for commentating WWF. Man, you're no good. Not hiring you.
exactly. So I mean, the guy's done it all. He's worked in production. He's worked like I mean, Tony Khan needs to start spending his own money, and then we'll start to see change. Just leave it at that. All right, brother man,
Yeah,
we got to cut this card up here really, really
just do
quick
it.
here. So Swerve Strickland, world champion, going up against Will Ospreay. I'm looking forward to this match. I think it's just
Yeah,
gonna.
this will be good.
It's probably the only match I'm kind of technically
This is
looking.
a good one. This is going to steal the show.
This is going to be good. Timeless. So I think Swerve's going to win.
You know what? I I think because of the ratings, he's not drawing. Will Ospreay is the best wrestler in the company. I don't know if he's the most popular guy. Maybe Daniel Bryan is, maybe Moxley, but he's up there. I think we got to switch the belt here. I know Swerve just got it, but you're not drawing, so too bad for you. This is a pro sport. This is business. Got to go with Will Ospreay to win it. I think they need to get a buzz here, and if Will wins it, they get a buzz. Let's see though. I'm going with William Ospreay.
I'm going Swerve. You're going Will.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I can see that
Yeah,
happening.
I don't know. You never know what this guy would be thinking.
Tony
He's impossible.
Storm.
AEW cards are the most impossible to decide who's going to win because you don't know what's on in his head.
Well, that's
Can't read
it.
the guy.
Tony Storm, champion, going up against Mina Shirakawa for the AEW Women's World Title. I'm actually looking forward to this one a little bit because the Miranda May, who's kind of the tag along with Tony Storm, she has a lot of history with Mina as well. So if you've been watching Dynamite, you can see the struggle because either side wants her on their team sort of video. So I think she's going to play a role in this. I have a feeling that Mina's going to win. I think she takes the strap off of Tony Storm with the help of Mariah May.
Yeah, this one is so hard to call. I don't know what the guy's thinking, but I think Tony Storm is going to retain. But I mean, these are 50-50. Let's hope it's a good match. It should be.
Yeah. Mercedes Monet versus Stephanie Valker. She is the champion from Mexico. She will be competing for the AEW Women's Title and the Women's New Japan Strong Women's Title. So 2 belts on the line here.
Yeah,
I'm going Mercedes.
How do you book this, man? You got a girl from Mexico. You got your women's champion or the AEW TBS. How do you do this match? Like,
well, the TBS title is on the line, and the New Japan Strong Women's title is on the line. So her Mexico title is safe. So I say Monet wins this because of just their relationship.
He's put a lot of money into her, and it's not translating well. I don't think she's been very good as a champ, personally.
Honestly,
I think she's a little bit overhyped coming in here.
I think that she's completely overhyped. She's no Charlotte Flair. She's no Becky Lynch.
Not even close.
Even on the mic, after all the years that she's been in WWE, she sounds horrible still. Even Liv Morgan sounded better last night on the mic.
Yeah, she did actually.
Yeah. Right?
I think so. Better than Mercedes.
Yeah. Okay, Kunsei Takeshita, Mark Briscoe versus Jack Perry versus Dante Martin versus to be announced because we have Dynamite coming up tomorrow night. So hopefully we'll know who that is. All these guys are going to be competing in a ladder match for the vacant AEW TBS or TNT title, which was vacated by Edge after he got injured. I'm giving it to Jack Perry. I just think it just makes sense with that elite storyline. I just don't see that belt working with anyone else.
There should be there are going to be some good spots in this match. It should be a good match. But yeah, Jack's going to win, but this match could be a sleeper. This could be there going to be some good spots here.
Well, you know what? I'm looking at that TBA, and the one name that keeps coming into my mind is Adam Cole. He's cleared to come back, and this would be a good match for him to come back in. He could get lost in the shuffle. He kind of
fits in perfectly with these guys, yeah.
Right? So he fits in perfectly there. So we're both seeing Jack Perry.
I think so, yeah. It should be a fun match.
All right, fair play. John Moxley versus Naito. For the IWGP World Heavyweight Title, I don't know about this, man. You know what? I'm
I
gonna
even
go
never heard of this
Naito.
man. This is
I'm
what I'm
gonna give it to
saying.
Naito.
Yeah, I can't even make a decision because I don't even know who this guy is. I hope it's a good match. We know Moxley's gonna bleed, gonna get crazy.
Yeah.
This could be a good match, but like this is what I'm saying is like, this is your pay per view. Nobody knows who he is.
Yeah.
How can
And
you do that?
then
How can you do that, Tony?
I don't
Like,
know,
what's the
man. And
story
then,
here? Just throwing a match together.
well, I mean, there are stories that are connected to it. Each guy has their own path to it, but I mean, you really gotta watch the show, man, and to understand where this is all coming from.
I do, and I can't make sense of any.
I get
don't
it.
even
I get it.
know
I
who
get
guys
it.
are.
If you and I can't make sense of it at some level, I can only imagine what the casual or the guy who's saying, "Hey, I'm
Yeah, like if you're gonna do a New Japan show with AEW, then let's get a little bit of heat, get a little bit of story. So show us, bring these guys on a month or two prior, and let us know who they are.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
just
yeah.
here we go.
Jeff Cobb,
He's just hoping that
is
everybody watches New Japan, but most people don't. Not over here.
yeah,
So,
Jeff Cobb, champion versus to be announced for the New Japan World TV title. So Jeff Cobb is the guy from New Japan. He's the
mhm.
champion. We don't know who he's fighting yet.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
But keep in mind, we're recording this the day before Dynamite, right? So there is
Yeah.
3 more shows before the actual pay-per-view.
It's true.
Finally, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy. Nothing on the line, just them fighting.
Just a fun match. I don't know. What do you? Maybe Zach's gonna take it. I don't know.
I think I'm giving it to Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, this card just doesn't make any sense. It's just so silly.
Okay, so let's make a bet here before we wrap this up. I mean, I just want to leave it at that. How long will this show go?
Oh, over 4.5 hours.
4.5?
Yeah, I'm not watching the whole show. I'm going to record it and skim through it. I'll watch the big match if I can break it down. But I'm not going to sit and watch 4.5, 5 hours of 8.
Okay, I'm going to go. I want to say 4.5 too, but I'll say 5. Just
yeah,
for
too much.
All right, guys. I tell you what, man. We've had a quick show here today. We've talked about.
I guess we got 2 more matches here.
There's 2 more.
Danielson and MJF.
Oh, okay. That I didn't even have that on my list.
Hart tournament first round match. Bryan Danielson
versus
Shingo Takagi.
Shingo Takagi. Whoa, way to go. Daniel Bryan for the win there. And MJF is fighting Hunico, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's going to be a good fight.
Yeah.
I think that match.
If you take the New Japan guys off this card and you put, Daniel Bryan versus Will Ospreay. Daniel Bryan has a few matches left, right? Stuff like that.
Have already gone though. They've already fought.
I know, but do it again or do something, whatever. Mix it up. MJF, Ospreay. You can do so many different things here. It's just,
if you look at the names that they have, they got some good, solid building blocks in Strickland, in Ospreay, in MJF. If you're looking at young guys, right? I mean, we're comparing to WWE with Braun Breaker, Ludwig, Gunther, Dragunov, and Carmelo Hayes. I mean, they do have a good base. It's what they're going to do with it. It's going to make all the difference.
Yeah, and they're not very good. Nobody in AEW can really go to the stick besides MJF. Moxie's okay, Brian's okay, but none of these guys can really rip a promo out. That's another problem. Then you need to bring in some better writers. And I think Tony Khan is letting them do their own promos.
Best guy on the stick is MJF, man, of that company. No one else.
So you know what, Tony? Most of these guys can't talk well. I know you're trying to be the cool guy. You get a writer to write their promos for them. And if they don't like it, they don't get the stick. You got to have some law and order here. This is crazy. Half these guys can't talk.
Is it just me or
letting them talk?
Tony needs to go to promo class too.
Yeah, it's just like, and I don't get me wrong. Some of these New Japan guys we haven't heard of, they might go out there and have an amazing match. But the thing is, we don't really know who they are, so you can't really break it down because it's just like,
it's hard. It's hard, bro. I get it. All right, brother, man. I tell you what, let's wrap it up here. It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. I know you got places to go. I got things to do as well.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for your patience on waiting for this episode. We were running a little bit behind today. Life takes over sometimes. But on that note, I'm Bobby Sampson. He's Mr. Chance Michaels.
And in the words of the great ACDC, those that download, like, and subscribe to the podcast, we salute you. Tony Khan, please hire some good writers and step your show up.
We do salute you.
They'll do wonders with you.
Guys, the weather is amazing. If you're here out on the West Coast like we are, take advantage of the seawall, get out there, do some activity, enjoy Mother Nature at its fullest. It's a little bit hot, I get it, but you know what? Take advantage of it because soon enough, you're all going to be complaining it's too cold again. On that note, Samp and Chance, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you Thursday with the boxing show.